This world is a projection of a tiny, mad idea of separation. It was made by a mind that is extremely powerful and all-encompassing, so powerful that it can dream itself as being cut off from oneness. And even though this is not true, the form reality that we know as 3D and 4D are simply not real. Form is an ego delusion, a dream imagination, perhaps even a nightmare at times. It is an outward projection of guilt, a mad idea, temporary and unstable. Anything that is temporary is illusory. So we must train ourselves not to give it much importance. Don't take this world seriously. Don't take it personally. It wants you to believe in it. It wants you to validate and energize it through projections of fear and pain and a sense of lack. It is always possible to choose love and forgiveness as much as you can. To do this, one must practice seeing beyond the body, beyond the changing and shifting images and the ego projections that are tied to the simulation. Instead, look at your own reactions to the events that are happening inside the false form reality and recognize them as projections of guilt, anger, and fear happening only inside your own separated mind. And then choose to shift those perceptions and those projections into extensions of love, forgiveness, compassion, and loving kindness. This is the secret to breaking the false simulation. We are always free to enter the prime world simply by shifting into expansion. This is done more easily through communion with the living current of life, a meditation that I have taught that can be repeated over and over, gently, calmly, without agitation, desperation, or clinging. Develop a daily practice and learn how to consciously soften and expand the mind's awareness into the higher world of expansion and freedom. How is this done? Again, this has been consistently demonstrated by our ancient saints and sages in all the traditions of the world. It can only be achieved moment by moment by retreating into quiet places and encouraging the body and mind to settle, submitting the heart, mind, body to an environment of stillness and safety, becoming receptive to the living current of life. It isn't necessary to surround yourself with bodies, holy sanctuaries, or to interact with loads of friends or lovers. This is why the ancient sages always retreated into the solitary wilderness in order to connect and absorb the living current of life directly. Everything and event within the false matrix simulation reality has been generated to draw your consciousness more directly into fear, longing, wanting, survival, or any other condition other than being receptive toward expanding into the great heart. It is about getting your individual spark to identify as a body. That is why nature, which is the threshold to prime reality, is so often overlooked and unrecognized. We seem to come here, find ourselves born in a body, and get educated or conditioned out of our natural primal state of wholeness through wanting, desiring, longing, clinging, and grasping. This only makes us driven to grasp for more pleasure, more security, attempting to make the next moment better than our present experience right now. We live in a false reality that is nothing more than an endless, repeating thought loop, a program response that must inevitably be unlearned, deprogrammed, and transcended. Therefore, the method to escape the simulation is simple. Begin by creating an environment in your life that promotes calmness and serenity, preferably closer to nature, where there are fewer distractions, no unnecessary burdens or agitation. Reduce everything and practice expanding your awareness from your heart center. This is something that can be accomplished on an individual level, and it does not require anyone else to do it with you or for you. For me, I achieved this by making some necessary adjustments in my life, namely, living a very simple, unfettered, debt-free lifestyle. These include reducing internet use, limiting computer exposure, staying quiet, remaining solitary, and entering as much as possible into stillness. Maintaining a peaceful environment is the most important part, but also reducing my interactions with disharmonic people, loud music, drama, and crowds. And I also work on fasting and eating less and spending more time alone in nature. I don't believe there is any more significant form of emotional or mental healing other than creating an environment of stillness, peace, and mind expansion. These are the natural prerequisites for entering prime reality, a condition which exists outside of the false matrix construct. The real world is not a form existence like we may imagine, yet it is a state of awareness where we perceive this simulation world directly through the eyes of the great heart, where all beings are experiencing whatever it is that they want and need until all such longings are transcended. Whether that is a beautiful body, houses, cars, wealth, these can become happy dreams, which eventually lead toward an even higher dimensional experience of oneness, abundance, and freedom. At this point in my life, after so many attempts to build meaningful and satisfying friendships and intimate connections, I have come to the conclusion that such unions are unattainable so long as there is not an experience of the great heart. This is a condition that can only come in consciously and deliberately reducing the want, need, desire, grasping program of the false matrix, and opting instead for a primal state of being, living lightly, living simply, reducing needs, and taking only what one needs to thrive and expand into a direct experience of communion with the living current of life. For this is the prime source field behind all manifestation. It is the true state of fulfillment and freedom. One must inevitably move away from survival thinking and away from guilt projections, vulnerability, and dwell instead in the living current. This is the way to demonstrate what we all sincerely are seeking, what we need and desire. It is wanting only God's source and nothing else. In other words, do not substitute things or symbols or idols for that which is ultimately truly valuable, the gifts of the Spirit. Here is the way to exit the simulation and expand your awareness towards prime reality. Number 1, create for yourself an environment of tranquility and peace. This means radically simplifying your life with less maintenance, less expenses, reducing phone and internet exposure, reducing interactions with disharmonic people, and maintaining your own quiet, clean, simple, humble environment. Number 2, be generous. Share your wealth or your gifts or your human kindness in a creative, humanitarian way. Number 3, interact with nature as the primary way to soothe your heart, mind, and body. Minimize exposure to toxic people who are disharmonic, aggressive, agitated, and materialistic. Interestingly, this is how animals deal with threats as well. They avoid those who are predatory, unpredictable, untrustworthy, and harsh. And finally, number 4, seek to decrease wants, needs, desires, and grasping, and choose instead a simple life, settling into longer periods of stillness as a means to absorb the life force. It is ironic in this world that less is more, and this is a state that will draw into your life more abundance and wealth, because it is a natural law.